neck.
He broke the neck. Daddy broke the neck. We were going 10 miles an hour.
Welcome to episode 34 of the Columbo podcast, where we never go any more than 10 miles per hour.
We're very considerate to our audience. If we went too fast, they wouldn't understand a word we're saying.
I struggle to understand a word I say when I listen back anyway.
Well, you don't normally listen to yourself. I suppose that's the thing, isn't it?
So I do these days.
Well, nowadays, yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, constantly.
Rather off-putting.
Yeah, especially when other folk are trying to talk to you.
Yeah. Good evening, Ian.
How are you?
Not too bad. Yourself?
I'm fine, just back from a holiday.
Yes. This has been a few weeks, although we have a little backlog of episodes so that we don't miss any weeks for our listeners.
Well, the listeners won't know that we've been away, but...
No,
yeah,
well, you've been away.
Yeah, and you're going away.
I'm going away.
There you go, it's a tropical climate for everybody.
Not so much.
I was in Wales.
I'm off to Cork.
Well, there you go.
Well, Kerry, actually, in Ireland.
We're visiting our Celtic cousins.
Yes. So yeah, it's been a couple of weeks, and it feels like it. I can't remember what we're doing here. What's the purpose?
We're talking about Matt. No,
no. Murder She Said.
It's one of these TV shows.
Yeah.
It's about Mexicans.
Why don't you use this as an opportunity for any new listeners to outline the structure of this podcast and the reason we're doing it?
That's a good idea. This is the Columbo podcast. We are going through every episode of Columbo from the beginning to the end, one by one, chronologically, with the exception of the pilot and the precursor to that, one of which we've already covered in episode 30, and one which we'll get to. I've never watched Columbo prior to taking on this podcast, and I'm watching them as we go along.
And you're Ian?
I'm Ian, and Gerry over there is the world's leading authority on Columbo.
I'm not. You keep saying that, Ian. Put me under pressure.
You know everything.
The more I watch it, the more I realise how little I know. All I know is that I really enjoy it. I've enjoyed it for many, many decades. So I'm a fan of the show, but certainly not an expert. And as I had said, alluded to, it's the amount of information, trivia, things that you notice, things that I notice that I had never spent any time considering before. So it's a real eye-opener for myself as well. And I think, I'm getting the benefit, if you can call it that, and perhaps some of our listeners are getting the benefit as well of viewing each episode chronologically.
Yeah.
And you can see the character develop. Now, I'd never done this before, I don't think I'd probably watched any more than maybe 2 or 3 sort of concurrent or consecutive episodes.
Yeah.
So watching the character develop is a new experience for myself and enjoyable.
It's certainly been an interesting show to follow so far, although the current season 5 that we're covering, has been fairly criticised by some of the listeners.
It's not one of the strongest, and perhaps doesn't end on the strongest of notes, which we'll get to. Next week's episode is a favourite of mine.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to that.
Yeah.
Not this week's episode.
This week, we'll get there. It's I don't think too many people have it in their top 10, but it has its moments.
Okay, well, maybe get to those.
What we do every week as well is, what you do every week is give us a summary of the episode.
I do that.
Well, let's have this week's.
Lieutenant Columbo's fame has spread to Mexico after his earlier cruise ship investigation, and in a matter of honour, he is asked once more to unofficially assist with a case. What looks like the simple death of a man pitted against a bull he could not handle in an attempt to avenge injuries to his son begins to seem more like a murder as Columbo learns about the event and about the intricacies of bullfighting. Seeking a motive, the lieutenant turns to the victim's son for help. But can a Mexican legend be exposed before Columbo's vacation ends?
Thank you, Ian. You hit the bullseye there.
Haha, you've been preparing that line.
I've not. If I'd been preparing it, it would have been a damn sight better than what I came out
I'm
with.
not sure you can say that in this podcast.
Of course I can. We start off in a hospital.
We do. I wasn't sure if a man was dreaming or if this was a recollection, but...
He was certainly in a nightmare-induced sweat or state.
He was.
What we find out is that he has had an accident whilst bullfighting.
Yeah, and he's been sedated.
Mm-hmm. He's obviously dreaming about this, the event that happened. He, we come to learn, is called Hector Rangel.
Yes.
He's a young bullfighter.
He is.
Perhaps not that experienced, but up and coming.
We'll say that.
The phone rings, and the doctor in the hospital takes a call from a...
Khan.
Must be already.
Well, clearly that's who it is.
Is that... As you know, I'm not a big Star Trek fan.
But anyone has seen at least the poster for Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, but he's a... What do you call it? A Vulcan? No, not a Vulcan.
He's not. He's a genetically enhanced human.
You know, what's the other guys called in Star Trek?
Which ones?
The bad guys.
Klingons?
Klingons, yeah. Is he not a Klingon?
No, he's a genetically enhanced human.
What does that mean?
He fought in the eugenics wars on Earth.
Is he a good guy or a bad guy?
Well, it depends on your perspective, but from the Star Trek people's perspective, he would be seen as a bad guy.
But does he look... Can you recognise him? Is he all distorted?
No, he's not distorted. He's got long hair, but he's got the same face.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, enough of that Star Trek patter. We'll get to that.
He actually portrayed the character in the original series of Star Trek as well, which is a connection that we might well come to.
Yeah, probably will.
Yeah.
But to me, he is... we'll get to that. He's known for two things. Primarily for me, he's
the original series and for the movie.
No, not that at all.
Interestingly, it's a role that was later played by Benedict Cumberbatch.
He played Sherlock.
He played Sherlock. He played Khan.
Did Luis Montoya?
No. Cumberbatch played Khan in the more recent Star Trek movies.
Did he?
Yes, he did.
I've only saw the first reboot.
He was in the second one.
Oh, right, I've not saw that.
There you
go.
That's a spoiler for anyone that's not seen it, to be fair.
That's the only Star Trek movie I've seen. The one from, what was that, 2010 something?
Something like that, with Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto.
Don't know. Simon Pegg.
They blew up Vulcan.
Can't remember. Watched it once in the cinema. Thought it was okay.
Yeah, it was quite good.
Yeah, it's not bad. Anyway, we certainly digress. The phone rings in the hospital.
It's Khan.
And it's might just cut this entire conversation.
Luis Montoya.
Yes. And he appears relieved to hear that Kuro is doing okay.
It's an interesting one because this man's motivations aren't clear throughout the episode. And he does genuinely seem concerned about Kuro when he phones here, but
it was nothing personal.
Yeah, I just can't figure out, what he's thinking at this point of the episode, given what comes after.
Yeah. It's an odd one. I'm sure he's sort of emotionally unsure as well.
Yeah, he maybe hasn't even made his big decision at this point.
Possibly. We find out when he's on the phone that himself, Luis Montoya, and Kuro's father, who is Hector, are going to be going to San Diego that evening. Apparently.
Yeah, up to America.
That's the plan. So from the hospital, we move to Montoya's home, his ranch, his farm.
Almost, through the phone call. We switch ends of the phone call and the conversation continues.
And we see Montoya watching an old bullfighting movie.
Yes.
In his home.
It does kind of look like him. It's quite interesting.
Well, it's interesting you should say that. It is in fact him. The clip that he's watching is from the movie Santa from 1934, in which he played a bullfighter.
Christmas bullfighter.
Yeah, little elves. Pixies. Lances. Yeah. Oh, poor, I might cut that as well. He, as himself from an earlier movie playing a bullfighter.
We've seen that recently in Identity Crisis. We had the photograph on the wall of McGowan in an earlier movie.
But we've also had Forgotten Lady, where we saw her watching a movie of herself.
Yeah. In fact, that's pretty much every episode of this season, except for the Case of Immunity, and the less said about that, the better.
So, what's happening here? We're at the...
Well, it's a thing that we've seen before, and it always signals killer. He gives his staff the day off because Kuro's going to be fine.
Yes.
Except for Miguel, who he gives booze and sends out to the other end of the ranch.
Okay. That's true. So, the servant appears and asks about Kuro. So he's obviously quite popular.
Yeah.
And he's told that Hector told them what happened, told the rest of the staff what happened, and that Montoya apparently acted very bravely.
Well, that's the story that Hector's given them. It's interesting because he's referred to as matador. You get this respect in the way that he's addressed, so that obviously is important to him.
Yeah. And as you say, sends the staff off. They seem delighted, jump in the back of a number of trucks and whippering and hollering and what have you.
Yeah, they're off to the nearest bar or hostelry, I would imagine.
Why would you imagine that?
Because they seem very excited.
Okay. And as you say, the senior ranch hand, Miguel, he's sent off on an errand.
He is.
With a bottle of mezcal, which is like tequila.
Presumably a wild goose chase.
Yeah, it's just to get him off the property. From there we go to Kuro's father's villa, so this is Hector. and Montoya enters, and we discover that Hector is preparing to leave his employ.
Yes, because Kuro's injury.
Things have changed. Hector seems disappointed, and it's to do with the incident involving his son. Montoya says that he is going to kill the bull, even though Hector himself reminds him that he would be a good stud bull.
Yeah, and valuable, obviously.
Well, we find out, I think it's about $8,000.
That's a lot of money. That's pretty much Columbo's annual salary.
Yeah, so yeah, and it's the same with horses. Even after their sort of career is done itself, if they have pedigree, then the stud value is considerable. So it's not just the £8,000 that it would cost to buy, it's the profits that can be made from this.
Sure.
This bull. However, Montoya claims that the injured Kuro would want to challenge it again, and he is going to kill it for his benefit. He said it can't be trusted to leave it alone.
It's a little bit iffy.
So he insists on killing this bull, and he wants Hector's help to do so.
He does. Or he says so.
Yeah. Hector is not convinced, and we have a clip.
I'm going to kill him.
But why? He would make a very good seed bull.
When Curro leaves the hospital, you know he'll want to face Marinero again.
How do you know that?
Dr. Leon told me that Curro is determined to do it.
Perhaps. But I don't think my son is that crazy.
I won't take that chance. That bull would kill Curro this time.
Luis, I do appreciate your concern. I know it is not easy to destroy such a valuable bull, but you don't
There are no buts. I'm going to kill Marinero today. In the ring, face to face.
Luis, you don't have to do that.
I will kill him like in the old days. With you assisting me.
That is crazy. And you know it. We're both out of shape. That bull would take at least 5 picks. Besides, your leg, it has been giving you a lot of trouble lately.
If you won't help me, my friend, I'll have to do it alone. Curro is a son to me also.
So they both leave the villa and head into the bull ring.
Yeah, Hector clearly has been persuaded by this speech.
Yes. And then the murder happens very quickly here.
Yeah, there's no way that Marinero and Montoya are going to face each other in this ring. Montoya is not up for that at all. So he tranquilizes Hector, not to knock him out, but to keep him woozy. Releases the bull.
Yeah, at first he thinks he's been stung, but then realises what's happened, and I think there's that look of horror, acknowledgement on his face.
Yeah, he realises that, yes, he's going to get... I don't even know if he... Well,
I think he does. He looks at Montoya.
He probably knows why,
yeah.
But I don't think anyone else knows why at this point.
Yep.
We're almost an hour away from finding out as well. It's one of these ones that they keep to the end of the episode.
Yeah, it's one of the episodes, one of the styles of episode that I'm not too keen on, where we're not privy to all the information.
It's a bit like the one we saw with Requiem for a Fallen Star.
There's been a few. And it's okay, now and again.
But I think it makes sense for us to mention at this point that the reason for this killing is because when Kuro was attacked by Marinero, Hector was the one who saved him because Luis Montoya froze, despite being this great matador.
Yep.
He panicked in the ring and couldn't come to Kuro's aid, and Hector had to save his son himself.
Yeah, he's lost all of his honour.
Yeah, well, the fact that Kuro saw that and Hector saw that is, at least Hector.
Yeah, I don't think Kuro saw that, that's the point.
Yeah, well, we don't know if Montoya would know whether Kuro had seen it or not. He maybe intended to kill him also.
Yeah.
But certainly he knows that Hector saw it. And
that's why Hector was leaving.
Yes, and even though we've just heard that Hector told all the staff that Montoya acted bravely, he's not prepared to leave that possibility that the truth might get out.
Yes, he's far too proud a man.
Without his reputation, he's not valuing his own worth.
Yeah, so the death itself, as he's very woozy under the influence of the tranquilizer, and he's given one of these capes and a sword.
Molera?
Yes, I've got that noted somewhere towards the end.
I did a find and replace on my notes at the end.
And yeah, the bull charges to the helpless and the hapless Hector, And it's a very violent death, this one.
Yeah, we don't see it.
We don't. Immediately cuts to Columbo, but...
Well, it's the impact. They share the impact of the bull on Hector and Columbo on the taxi he's just driven in the back of for no reason.
Nice bit of direction. Nice shift. I like that. But just going back to the killing itself, the murder, we understand that Hector has worked for Montoya and has worked with him for decades. And his son works with them as well, and they're very close-knit, you get the feeling.
Yeah.
And leaving aside the motive to kill, which, is obviously very, very dubious, but if you had to kill your friend or even someone who you've known, there must have been easier, more efficient, less painful and traumatic ways of doing it. And the thing is that the bull, I don't know how, you can't guarantee necessarily that it's going to be quick and swift. It could have ragdolled him for, a number of minutes.
It could have done.
Causing an awful lot of pain, why couldn't you have set up a car crash or something else, or...
Perhaps once he came up with his narrative, he just wanted to go with that.
Yeah, sure. It seems like a very brutal way of killing someone who's done you no harm.
Well, yeah, sure.
In fact, Hector has acted totally professionally and, more than professionally.
He's protected his friend's reputation.
Yeah, and he just says, listen, I'm going to leave now. See, that's the thing as well. He's not even said, don't worry, I won't say anything. And he's worried that over the years, if he falls out, something will come out.
Yeah.
Because Hector is actually saying, I'll leave. So, I'll just go somewhere else.
It's quite interesting, this question of honour and value, because we talked earlier about Ricardo Montalban, who plays Luis Montoya, appearing in Star Trek.
We're not going back to Star Trek.
No, we need to, because it's very similar to the way that they depict Klingons. You talked about Klingons on Star Trek, about honour. Honour is their primary thing. So they have this code of conduct that relies entirely upon honour. And even more interestingly...
That wasn't interesting.
There's an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, also called A Matter of Honour, where the first officer of the Enterprise is on exchange working on a Klingon ship.
Very good.
It's all about this.
And the Klingons, the one... Did they have the Klingon... Is that a death grip? Is that what they have?
No, that was the Vulcans.
Is it? Is that William Shatner?
No, that was Leonard Nimoy. You're upsetting people. You need to stop.
Okay. We have this murder, this brutal death.
Yes.
And as we mentioned, we cut quickly to Columbo's introduction on a busy, we were led to believe Mexican street. Now, I'm not sure if anyone can tell us here if this episode was filmed on location in Mexico on the borders or wherever it was.
Anyone knows, please get in touch either through Twitter at Columbo Podcast or comment on our show notes at columbopodcast.com. Mm-hmm. Happy to chat about it. Anyone got any information or can identify the street scenes or anything like that, that would be ideal.
Yeah. So Columbo's introduction is that he rear-ends a family car, or a family in a car.
He does, for no reason.
Yeah. A crowd gather and start harassing him, and the driver pretends to be on death's door, doesn't he, with a broken neck, and Columbo is absolutely exasperated. It's the clip we heard at the top of the podcast.
It is, and obviously the initial concern is, are they portraying Mexicans as dishonest here? I don't think they necessarily are, but it was uncomfortable to watch for me.
Yes, but what I was pleased to discover is that the senior Mexican officer is not portrayed in that way at all. He's very, he's not corrupt. He's not a sort of bad guy. They're aware of Columbo's exploits on the
cruise ship. Well, this is the other interesting thing. If they wanted to go whole hog with the stereotypes, they would have had Montalban paying off the police officer.
Yeah.
Or Montalban's character paying off the police officer.
As I was watching this, I'm thinking about this, especially since last week when we had, or 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago we had...
Case of Immunity, yes. 2 weeks ago, yeah. So
it's the same sort of theme, how you treat... I'd be more inclined, with this episode, to compare it to Dagger of the Mind. Where there's a stereotype there, but
it's affectionate, maybe.
Maybe affectionate. It's not... It's not meant to be. It's not overly offensive. It's not a stereotype, but hey, we all do that, don't we?
The note that I made at the end, and you'll be able to clarify this when you do your trivia, was I cannot believe this episode was written by a Mexican. So I assume it wasn't, because of the way that they're portrayed, not necessarily offensively, but just with perhaps a little lack of insight. Maybe my feeling from watching the episode.
Yeah, sure. So Columbo produces his ID, and even more so than in Dead Weight, we get a close-up. We get to inspect his ID card.
Yeah, they've not changed it.
And it's quite clear that his first name is indeed Frank. You can see that.
Francis, Frank, Frankie Boy,
Yep.
Columbo.
The big F.
That's him. FC.
FC. So yeah, we can see that. So it's been confirmed.
And no middle names.
No middle names. The cop who inspects it immediately departs the scene and goes to make a telephone call. So we're thinking, oh, what's going on here? Is Columbo in a bit of trouble?
Yeah, they take it off him, don't they?
Columbo then argues with the locals and the cops as his car is about to be towed away, and he says he needs it to get back to LA as his wife is with him. They're on a holiday, but she needs to get back for a wedding anniversary or something?
It's her cousin's wedding anniversary and they're having a party.
Yep.
Something like that, anyway.
Now, Columbo is ushered over to speak with the Commandant Sanchez. Is that his name?
Yes, Comandante Emilio Sanchez.
Yes. And at first, he looks like a cowboy. Sort of denims and cowboy hat.
Looks a little bit like, it was Matthew McConaughey. I thought he looked a bit like him.
Sure.
In Dallas Buyers Club. He had that same sort of moustache and long hair
Yeah.
combo.
And Sanchez informs Columbo that his car has to remain in Mexico as it's not covered by his American insurance.
Yeah, he should have bought more at the border.
He then tells Columbo that he, as we've mentioned, he knows who he is. He's a bit of a star due to the well-publicised Troubled Waters case.
Yes, the Robert Vaughn episode, yeah.
And as they are talking, a call comes in about the incident at the Montoya Ranch. And Columbo is encouraged to join Sanchez.
He's blackmailed to join Sanchez. And again,
Blackmail's maybe...
I think Columbo uses the word blackmail.
Yeah. You get friendly blackmail.
I mean, you've
don't
also got the suggestion that this thing with his car is a racket as well, where they would take American cars and charge them money.
Yeah, exactly.
to release them.
But we find, well, that's not the case.
Well, not for Columbo.
No.
Because he's famous. But if he wasn't famous, who knows?
Yeah, I think you're reading too much into that there, Ian.
Well, maybe. I'm just saying there was some discomfort in watching that scene.
Yeah, Sanchez says it will help speed up the paperwork if Columbo decides to join him.
Sure.
Columbo smiles and he accepts, so he doesn't take too much
Okay.
umbrage with this. And they head off to the ranch. And Columbo is introduced to Montoya,
He is.
who tells him he used to be a bullfighter and that the victim was a long-time employee and friend. Montoya then tells Sanchez that on the Thursday, the bull had escaped into the ring and Kuro
Yes, Kuro.
had entered the bull ring to face it. He did well, but not well enough. And Hector and himself had saved him.
So far, so good.
Mm-hmm.
He goes on to explain what he assumes has happened to Hector. You know, he's got this story prepared.
Which is?
That Hector wanted to avenge his son's minor injuries by killing the bull, and went in the ring and was not good enough and was gored to death.
I suppose it seems fairly reasonable.
Does it?
Yeah. Well, think about it this way. If a dog had killed your child, you would put the dog down, wouldn't you? You'd want that dog
but his
destroyed.
son wasn't killed.
Okay, but even so, if a dog put your child in hospital, many people, maybe not yourself, but many people would want to see, and in fact, the authorities would probably do that for you anyway.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to go in there and do it yourself
No.
at risk to your own life.
Mm-hmm. But authorities hadn't been necessarily involved at that point. So I think it's reasonable that if an animal attacks and seriously injures your child, that some people may want to avenge that action.
Well, yes, I would say they were unreasonable people, but okay.
No, I just think it's not, it's not crazy to assume that a father would want to kill the bull who nearly killed his. Especially when you're talking about, these people are bull fighters. They kill the animals anyway.
Yeah, but does that not also indicate that they accept the risk of injury or death when they take them on?
I don't know, to be honest. I've no idea. Hector also confirms with Columbo that the staff were given the day off. Now that's as you mentioned, a clue that we see come up time and time again.
Yeah, we've seen it.
Big red flag.
Repeatedly, yeah.
He also tells Columbo that he was due at a speaking engagement and Hector had asked to remain behind to work on the accounts, the books.
He says that, yes.
And on the wall, Columbo notes a picture of Hector driving Montoya's car.
Yes, a soft-topped sort of fancy looking.
which is important later.
Yeah, well, very quickly after this, yeah.
So we head outside.
So Columbo wants to do his usual thing and ask about value, but it's not just out of curiosity on this occasion.
Oh, it's important.
Yeah, and he finds out that the bull is worth about $8,000.
And he rightly has a problem with the fact that Hector would destroy something worth this amount without permission.
Yeah.
And Montoya asks how he can judge a man who almost lost his only son.
Well, that's Montoya's response anyway, but again, he's acting here.
Yeah. I think that on its own is fine, but again, it's a little loose ends, isn't it? It's a little ball that's now rolling around in Columbo's
Yeah, you
mind
can't
here.
quite get it to settle.
So he looks around. A foreman tells Columbo that at 5:30 it would have been the ideal time to fight the bull.
Yeah, because Columbo's dubious about this. He thinks, well, why would you fight when the sun's going down? But he's taught that it gives the matador an advantage.
Yes. Columbo then sits in an old-fashioned car. It's a 1931 Cadillac.
It's a nice car.
Yeah, it's a nice car, and the employee confirms that lack of power steering means that Hector has to drive Montoya in this car everywhere.
Yeah, because of the injury that Montoya suffered in his last fight,
Yeah.
he can't drive that car by himself.
Yep. The employee is cleaning a more modern car,
Yeah, he says he expects he'll now get the job of driver.
and he says that this was the one that Montoya would have driven to San Diego. And Columbo asks him when it was last waxed, and he tells him that it was yesterday around 12 p.m.
That's critical information.
Yes. And Columbo says he thought the staff were given the day off, but before he can answer, the guy wants to know, the employee wants to know why he's asking all these questions. I think he's getting a little bit nervous.
Yeah, he doesn't want to say the wrong thing. It looks
No.
like he's got great respect for Montoya as well.
We head back to the bull ring. Columbo gets inside the ambulance to inspect the body,
Yes,
and he's
it's
sickened.
gruesome.
Very gruesome, as you can imagine.
But going to a butcher shop, I'd imagine.
Yeah. And the doctor confirms that the main artery in the thigh was severed,
Yeah,
and that caused the death.
femoral artery was severed. Yeah. But the response to Columbo's disgust is that this is no worse than boxing or hunting or fishing.
Yeah, or does he even mention dog fighting? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure if he mentions that, but certainly prize fighting, he says, which is boxing, I assume.
Obviously, the difference is when you say something like prize fighting, it's two adults who are both
Choosing to participate.
Yes. So, but I do have sympathy with his general line of his argument.
Yeah. On the other hand, there are folk who would oppose all of those things as well.
Of course there are, yes. But like I say, but American culture accepts going out and, not all of it, but it's legal in many states to go out and shoot a bear or an animal. So
Hunting's very popular.
Hunting is very popular. So I think, this episode, this is an example of this episode not, trying to balance the books here in terms of the culture. They're not making one.
They're not judging.
No.
I do know that there's a lot of opposition to bullfighting as well.
Of course there
It's
is.
not.
Worldwide, there's an
popular.
opposition. I mean, I think it's a dwindling activity, and I think it's one that generally
You still get
is
this
unacceptable.
annual running of the bulls where they chase the folk down the street and hopefully a few of the idiots get gored.
Of course, that's still not very fair on the bulls themselves being placed in that situation.
No.
Anyway, we won't go down that route too much. We won't.
No, because the bulls are there and they'll hurt us.
They will. Columbo notes that the muleta does not look used.
It does not. It also looks dry,
Yes.
which is important later, but he doesn't notice that.
And then Columbo discovers a pick mark.
Yep.
And Montoya says that the ring is used to test cows for bravery, and that the last time was a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But Columbo thinks that the mark on the ground,
Fresher than that.
made recently.
So
And
they suggest it might be to do with Kuro's accident as well, because that seems to have been the day before.
Yes.
You don't always get clear timelines in Columbo, but I think they're suggesting it was the previous day.
And he then finds part of the pick itself. Now the pick's
Well, he doesn't really, but he thinks he's found part of the pick.
yes, which looks fresh.
Yep. He's also got questions about where Hector would have been when the bull was released. If he was releasing the bull by himself, he must have been at the opposite side of the ring to where he was found.
Yes.
But he's told that the bulls are that strong, they could just chuck him like a
is-
rag doll,
that's-
however they wanted.
That's fine, thank you.
At this point, Montoya excuses himself and takes his leave.
We next move to a restaurant in the city.
A cafe type
Cafe,
place, yeah.
Columbo's eating lunch with Sanchez and his family.
He's put his wife on a bus to LA.
He wants to talk to Sanchez about Hector's death.
He does. Well, the Sanchez family leave.
Yeah. And Sanchez rules out suicide. So Columbo suggests homicide might be an explanation.
Maybe it was homicide.
Lieutenant, you saw the body. No man could have ripped my hell open in such a way.
No, the bull was the murder weapon, sir. Like a gun. Somebody could have turned the bull on Rangel.
Who would do a thing like that?
Montoya, maybe?
Montoya? That's ridiculous. It's unbelievable, Lieutenant. It's like saying that the Pope did it.
Anything's possible.
Lieutenant, you're too good a policeman to suggest such a thing without proof.
Certain things don't fit. Why does a faithful assistant, an obedient man, somebody who's used to taking orders, suddenly take it upon himself to destroy a valuable piece of property without permission?
You heard Montoya's answer.
They didn't believe it.
As they talk more, or as Columbo talks more, it seems that the idea grows on Sanchez a little bit at least. He's not ruling it out quite as vociferously at the end.
He's not, and he also, in this scene, provides the motive for Columbo. Because he tells him that a matador must have honour. And that is why he was going to try and kill the bull. But I think he's planted that seed. That honour is something that's important to this type of person.
Yeah, much like the Klingons.
Right. No more. Absolutely zero more of these.
If Columbo was a Star Trek fan, he's maybe thinking that way.
Mm-hmm. Is a Klingon, is that the same as a Jedi?
Yes.
Good. Columbo then asks Sanchez if he thinks that Montoya is vain about his public image and why he would drive himself to San Diego rather than being driven in the Cadillac.
Well, Sanchez is very ready to agree that he is vain. Indeed,
Yes.
he's very vain. He doesn't have an answer in respect of the Cadillac, or not a convincing one anyway.
No, but he reminds Columbo that Hector told him that he would be staying, but Columbo responds by saying that Montoya asked for the other car to be waxed before this request.
So how would he know?
Precisely. Columbo respectfully suggests that Sanchez does not close the case. And Sanchez himself asks Columbo to lead the investigation in case it goes nowhere.
Yes, it would be a bad PR exercise for Sanchez as the Comandante if he investigated such a legend.
Mm-hmm.
But then, would allowing an unqualified foreigner to lead an investigation not also
Yeah, I was thinking
be
that
somewhat
I thought that
criticised?
myself, yeah. You wouldn't let someone snoop around. Because he doesn't take too much of a back seat. He appears with Columbo and...
You might find the paranoid people think that it suits the Americans to undermine a Mexican hero.
But I mean, also Columbo admits to different staff and people on the ranch that, you know, he's helping out
Yeah.
Sanchez, so, you know, Sanchez is getting it in the neck if it goes wrong anyway.
Oh, I would think so. I think he's maybe just using that as leverage against Columbo.
Well, I think perhaps he...
Or encouragement.
Yeah, I think he understands Columbo's abilities are supreme and he actually just wants his help.
Yeah, so he needs to find a way to keep Columbo on the case.
Yeah. From the restaurant we go back to the ranch.
Yeah, and Luis Montoya's daughter arrives.
Yes, she's called, is it Nina?
Something like that.
Mm-hmm. And she wants to go and visit
Churro.
Churro.
There seems to be some kind of a relationship. They're at
think-
least friendly.
I think it's more than friends. But yeah, she wants to go and visit him in hospital after refreshing herself.
Yeah, getting herself settled in, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Columbo's lurking in the background of this.
Yeah, Montoya is very disconcerted to see this. He's put on edge, I think.
Yeah, he doesn't understand why Columbo's there.
Hmm.
Columbo wanders by a baby sort of bull.
Cow or something, yeah.
And he gets a fright from it moving towards him slightly.
He has to jump about a foot in the air.
He gets a bit of ridicule for this.
Yeah, from the rest of the employees and staff that are around.
Miguel in particular, who offers Columbo a refreshing drink to calm his nerves.
Columbo thinks it's water.
He absolutely thinks it's water, and he's quite surprised to learn it's actually mezcal,
Yeah, after taking a very large gulp.
which he deposits all over the ground very quickly.
And Miguel again has a laugh at Columbo's expense.
He does. Miguel is organising Hector's things. He's kind of packing his belongings away, but found that the suitcase was already packed, which could be critical.
Yeah, well, the first thing that Columbo learns in this dialogue with Miguel is that he was sent away on the day, the previous day. He was sent away on this errand.
It wasn't clear to me, did he say that the fence wasn't broken?
Can't remember.
They don't really touch on that. You would think that would be a critical piece of evidence.
Yeah.
He was sent away to mend a fence that wasn't broken.
In fairness, I think on these sort of farms and ranches, fences are always needing patched up. So I don't think it's just a case of, that fence was... I think every fence can do with some work.
Perhaps.
Cows and other bulls, other animals will damage it over time. So there's always work to be done in the fences.
Maybe get away with that one.
Yeah. We head in to the... I think it's like a tack room.
Some form of stable type environment.
Mm-hmm. And Miguel shows Columbo Hector's equipment and gear, etc., that he's clearing out. And as you rightly say, they both discover that Hector's suitcase is already packed.
Now we as viewers know that because we saw him packing it at the start of the episode.
Yes. Columbo then finds out that a piece of wood that he had found is from a lance and not a pick. Now, why is that important?
Well, you wouldn't use a lance to fight a bull.
No.
Or to train a cow or anything like that.
A lance is lighter and used in the field for herding.
Yes.
It's not for fighting bulls. Use a pick for fighting bulls.
That's right. They also discover that Hector's lance is missing.
Yes.
Which is critical.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of critical evidence that we've picked up in this episode so far.
Montoya then enters the room and he admits to Columbo that he got it wrong. Now, what did he get wrong?
Well, he overhears them talking about the bit of wood being from a lance and not a pick, and he appreciates that that's probably correct.
He explains to Columbo how he got injured previously. Columbo is trying to find out a little bit more about him as a person.
Yeah, maybe we can listen to a clip about this.
Okay.
May I ask you a personal question, sir?
Oh, by all means.
Did you injure your leg in the bull ring?
In the Plaza de Toros, Mexico. It was the wound that ended my career. And ironically, it wasn't even the bull I was supposed to fight. You see, I was appearing mano a mano with a young matador who froze, and the bull gored him. I jumped to his rescue, and I too was gored. Badly. Here. They tried to take me to the infirmary along with a young matador, but I refused to go. Despite the blood flowing from my wound, I stayed in the ring. And I did one of the best faenas of my career. I killed the bull with one thrust. The people loved it. They stood up and gave me an electrifying ovation. 2 ears and a tail. That was my last fight.
I think the important things that we learn in this clip, or that clip there, was that, firstly, a matador can freeze when faced with a bull.
Yeah, if they're a coward.
Okay.
Or if they're going to be perceived as a coward, perhaps.
Yes.
More to the point.
And also that Montoya was a very proud man. He refused to go to hospital with his injury. He had to finish the job, as it were. So we know that he's got a great deal of pride, and that people in that position can freeze.
Yeah, 2 important pieces of information. Columbo now indicates that he'll be back one more time.
Well, Montoya invites him back.
Yeah. He's heading back to America in due course, but he's got time to come back.
I think the fact that Columbo says or tells Montoya that he is about to leave, it drops his guard. So Montoya is happy enough to say, okay, you can come back one more time. This is over now anyway. I'm not a suspect.
Yeah.
From there we go to the city street, and Sanchez is translating the medical examiner's report that mentions a needle mark was found in Hector's buttock.
Yes. Columbo recommends an autopsy. Now, this is the second time I can remember where Columbo recommends an autopsy and later says, I didn't expect it to show anything.
Yeah.
The first one was after A Friend Indeed, when Halperin, his wife, dies.
Yes, and there was the soap and the...
Yeah, but that wasn't what he was expecting to find. He was saying he was going to find that she was drugged or something like that, and then
Yeah.
he was advised he wouldn't find that.
Sanchez, again, is not overly keen to order this autopsy. He's in fear of his losing his pension.
Well, I think a lot like Montoya, reputation is also a big thing for the police officer, maybe in a more tangible way for the policeman, because if his reputation goes, his position and status goes with it.
Yeah, well, he said he loses his pension and he's a younger man. He's a lot. It's his livelihood here. It's not just his status. It's it's this what leads on from that loss of status, i.e., financial ruin.
Columbo's going to go and visit Curo in the hospital.
Yes, but before that, he asks for the weather report to be checked on for the day of the killing.
We've seen this before as well. You remember him running around a bar looking for a weather report?
Yes.
And again, I think it was found indeed as well, wasn't it?
No, that was in Enio Port. He was trying to discover the weather, the temperature, because it was the heat wave, remember?
Yes, you're right. It was Columbo. I can get mixed up between two different folk in a bar.
It's easy to do. Yeah, as you say, we go to the hospital and we see Nina.
She's with Curo.
She's pushing him in a wheelchair, and he blames himself for his father's death.
Yeah, well, Nina leaves and Columbo talks to Curo.
Mm-hmm. So we now know, it's been confirmed that Curo does not know what happened on the actual day itself.
Yeah, they talk about the fact that nobody uses a lance in the ring, but that his father might have had his lance with him on that day.
Yeah, well, he explains what happened. He says that on the day of the accident, he tried to face the bull himself, but was knocked unconscious and was dragged from the ring by his father as Montoya diverted the bull. So his father went in there to drag the...
Oh, that's the story he's been told.
Yes, that's the story. That's what he thinks has happened.
Yes.
Or perhaps that's what did happen. I think what actually happened is that he has been knocked unconscious or semi-conscious. Montoya has went in with all intents and purposes to act the hero, to divert the bull's attention. His father's dragged the body and then looked up to discover that Montoya has frozen, and then he's had to go over and save Montoya as well. Columbo wants to know where Hector's lance is kept, and Curo suggests that maybe he had it with him on the day that happened.
Yeah.
Columbo doesn't think that he would have brought it into the ring if he was also dragging out
the body.
The body.
Yeah. Well, not the dead body. No, yeah, his son.
Still dragging his son out. And he says that he has not been able to find the rest of the lance.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because where's it gone? We've not seen it being disposed of.
And additionally, Curo knows nothing about why his father's bags were packed.
Well, that's quite important when Columbo asks if Hector was going anywhere, and Curo suggests that he would only be doing that if he was fired or if he'd quit, and both are unlikely.
Yes. Because it doesn't take any vacations.
That's it.
From there we go to the police station. Columbo's, as we've again seen on many occasions...
Yeah, he's reading up on his subject.
Studying. He is reading The Art of Bullfighting.
Yeah.
And Sanchez, to Columbo's delight, tells him that his car has been returned to him. It's outside.
Yeah, and he's going to get it back for a bit of transport.
Yeah, free of charge. There's no fines or anything like that to pay. And the result of the weather report confirms that there was no rain on the day of the death, but it was quite windy, which is important.
Columbo also at this point thinks he has the motive.
Yes.
But doesn't think anyone will believe him.
He says he's a crazy notion of why Hector was killed, but as you rightly say, is not confident that he can convince anyone else. We go back to the ranch. Montoya is very upset to discover that Columbo has ordered this autopsy. And Columbo explains to him about the needle mark that was found, and that he believes that Hector may have been drugged. And he asks to see the records kept relating to the tranquilizers which are kept on the ranch. And then Columbo is shown a bottle of chloral hydrate, which he refers to as a Mickey Finn knockout drops. And Montoya confirms that bulls are shot with an air gun and a dart, which he shows us these tools to Columbo. And Columbo asks for a record of the purchases relating to the drugs themselves.
Well, this is the critical thing, isn't it? The financial records.
Yes.
Because
Montoya's unhappy that Columbo seems to be snooping through these.
Yeah. But what Columbo finds is that the books were signed off 3 days before Hector was killed.
Yes.
And Montoya signed off on them.
Mm-hmm.
So he would have known that Hector didn't need to look at the books that day.
Montoya is very unhappy by the implication of what Columbo is getting at here.
Very.
Yes, and I think this is again the part of the episode which we often see where it's pretty much the Columbo tells the killer,
I know it was you.
no, it was you, it's now just a case of me trying to prove this.
That's it.
It's normally at this point that the sort of friendly, affable killer becomes obtrusive and less than helpful. Columbo then asks why Hector, why his bag was packed. And after a pause, Montoya suggests that he was moving into the main house, but Columbo does not buy that.
It doesn't
story.
come across believable.
We've got a clip.
I don't appreciate this little war of nerves you are conducting, Columbo. I am Luis Montoya, and you are in my country.
Sir, I'm just trying to put together the
Hombre, no
pieces.
entiende nada, hombre. If you understood the first thing about bullfighting, you would not question Hector's death. He walked into the ring to spare his son further injury, and he lost his life. Now, that's all there was to it.
Who packed his bags? That's right, sir. It was packed. Miguel didn't do it. He thought the housekeeper did, but I asked her, and she said no.
I don't know anything about that.
Well, but the fact is, sir, it was packed. Where was he going?
Ah, yes. He talked about moving into the main house. Maybe that's what he was doing.
Gee, it's curious that no one had any previous information about that, neither the housekeeper nor the servants.
I'm sorry, Lieutenant. I have tried to be gracious. I have answered all your questions. My courtesy has been rewarded with accusation. I must ask you to leave my house and not return.
Columbo tells Montoya at this stage that he's going to be found out.
Yes.
I'm not sure how he can be so confident in a foreign jurisdiction.
No, and we also, well, what we come to learn, he should not be that confident.
No, there's not a lot of evidence.
Nah, we'll get to that. There's
Okay.
not a lot of proof, is there? From the ranch, we go to just outside Sanchez's home, where Sanchez's kids are playing at bullfighting.
Yeah.
And Columbo arrives, and he tells him that he is going to have to head back to LA. He tells him that he knows Montoya is his man, but he hasn't found the key yet. That's a vital piece of evidence.
But then he sees the Sanchez kids playing, and he gets a bit of an idea.
He does. We don't know what it is at the moment. That's still kept from the viewer.
No, but they do explain to him why the muleta is being dampened
Yes, it's to weigh it down.
against the wind.
Yeah.
We also heard earlier that it was a windy day
Yes.
when Rangel was killed.
So this is Columbo's sort of epiphany moment, and
Yeah,
he leaves. He tells Sanchez that he will call him later on.
yeah. And he goes to visit Kuro, who I think is now home.
Yes. And we find Kuro purposefully leaving for the bull ring.
Oh yes, he is a man of great passion.
He's determined to kill the bull because he thinks the bull has killed his father.
Yeah,
You see,
Yes.
so this backs up my thoughts earlier that...
he does come across as irrational though.
Yeah.
I know what you were saying, yes, this is something that people might do, but I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, Columbo stops him because he needs his help. He explains the scenario, and Kuro, initially outraged, is very quickly persuaded.
Yes. Columbo admits that he's not certain of motive, but he asks Kuro to trust him.
Well, he says that the only way he can prove it is with Kuro's help. But I think prove is a very dubious word here.
Yeah, very dubious. So we head from there back to the ranch.
Yeah, our denouement at the ranch.
Montoya tells Sanchez that Columbo is no longer welcome. And Montoya says that he will have Sanchez's job. I've heard that a few times before, people being threatened by unemployment.
Well, not that long ago, in case of immunity.
Yes.
Kuro is in the ring. He means to kill Marinero.
Well, although the autopsy showed that no chloral hydrate was in the body, Columbo tells Montoya that he thinks there was just enough to make him woozy. Now, I'd have thought if there was anything in the body at all that the autopsy would have picked up.
Yes. We're not talking about a long time frame here, are we?
No, you would think, yeah, enough to make you woozy is enough to be
Detected.
detected, yeah. But anyway,
Yeah.
he says it was enough to make him woozy and essentially be a moving target. And as we all know, a bull loves a moving target.
It won't necessarily charge an unconscious man.
It won't.
But can't be guaranteed anyway.
Montoya dismisses this and also the lack of any proof.
Yeah.
But at that point, an employee bursts into the room, or into the area.
That's what I was saying a moment ago. Kuro, in the ring.
Yes.
You need to kill the man in arrow.
So they all run out to the bull ring.
Yeah, and Kuro...
Well, Montoya says, firstly, he says he will attend to this young fool and then speak to his lawyer.
Yeah. He might have to do that anyway.
Yeah, he will certainly have to do that.
Montoya approaches Kuro in the ring, and Kuro listens to his spiel, hands him the sword and the muleta, and then runs over and releases Marinero.
Yes.
And Montoya freezes.
Yes, he does. There's a very tense standoff.
He looks terrified.
The bull eyes Montoya, and Montoya eyes the bull. We see his pantaloons expanding.
It's a very uncomfortable
He'll have
scene
to
for
clean
him.
his shoes.
Yeah, well.
After
He's
that.
not happy. He's not happy, and he's not feeling safe in the ring.
As the bull charges, Montoya remains static in terror, and we see other matadors appear from hidden positions to
Who must
distract
all
the
have
bull.
been in on Columbo's plan to discredit their hero.
Yes, I think they were.
Why would they sign up for that?
Sanchez will have told them. They'll respect the law. Sanchez says you need to do this.
Maybe, but this is meant to be their hero.
Still, the cops.
They're basically playing a game to expose him as a coward, regardless of whether or not he's committed a crime.
Yeah, but I think
Being a coward's not illegal.
No, it's not. But if he is a coward, then he's not the man they thought he was. So they're quite happy to expose him. Then, if he's a coward,
Maybe.
a coward's worse than a murderer, and that.
Is that true?
I don't think so. Okay. Not in my view. But apparently, in terms of this episode, being a murderer is preferable to being a.
Yeah. The others having rounded the bull away, Montoya essentially submits to the police and hands Columbo the muleta and the sword.
Yes, he walks over to him and he presents it to him as some sort of, ritual.
Almost, yeah.
It's a mark of respect, I think, to the victor. Columbo has been the tenacious, or the bull anyway, in this occasion, and he's defeated the matador. A worthy champion, I think.
We get
It's a nice touch.
Yeah, Montoya's driven away and we get a lengthy piece of exposition.
Yes, well, he leaves in silence as Nina cries.
Yeah.
And then we do get the...
that would have been a confusing end to the episode.
We do get the exposition, as you say.
Your kids, they solved the crime.
My kids?
Your kids. Only after watching them play, one pretending to be a matador and the other pretending to be a bull. Only then did I know without qualification that Montoya was lying. This is the official weather report for the day that Hector was killed. Heavy winds came up in this area between 5 and 6 o'clock. Now that was the time that Montoya said that Hector was preparing to kill the bull. Heavy winds, 30 kilometers an hour. Now, do you remember the first day? Do you remember how closely we looked at this muleta to see that it wasn't ripped?
Yes.
Well, it wasn't something else.
Water stains.
No water stains on the muleta. And no water jug in the ring. Now, the winds died down after 6 o'clock, but by then it was too late. So Hector entered the ring earlier, before the winds came up, and when Senor Montoya was still with him.
In terms of the proof, I think it's appropriate that there was a fair amount of bull in this episode. I assume you agree with me here that there's no proof at all.
It's a lot of circumstantial stuff that doesn't really prove a crime has been committed.
No, all he showed here was that on this occasion Montoya froze.
Yeah, all Columbo has is a possible narrative that might suggest a crime's been committed. So the only thing he can rely on is that the honour of Montoya will lead to him confessing.
I think we're going to have to pull out the proof clip here. It's
hear
worthy
it.
of it.
Let's hear it.
Will you give me proof, Lieutenant? Where is your proof, Lieutenant?
Quite so.
Yeah, none whatsoever. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I said at the start, I thought that this episode probably wasn't written by a Mexican.
No, it wasn't, and that leads me in nicely to some production information. We've also left the stars out. We can discuss those just now as well.
Sure.
So, directed by as you rightly said, a non-Mexican as far as I'm aware. Ted Post. We've discussed him before. Interestingly, he did, this is his second of two, Case of Immunity was his other.
Interesting, maybe they felt he was the man to sensitively handle foreign characters.
Yeah. Brad Radinitz was the writer, born in 1930, also known for episodes of MacGyver, Call to Glory, The Brady Bunch, Mission Impossible, and Gilligan's Island. He was, interestingly, the president of the Writers Guild of West Mexico. Coast of 1995 to 97. This episode was first broadcast on the 1st of February 1976 at the 70-minute length. Felt longer.
In places.
Guest stars. Ricardo Montalban played Luis Montoya. He died in 2009, aged 88. He was most famously known for roles in Fantasy Island.
No, he wasn't.
The Colbys.
No.
Dr. Kildare.
No, he wasn't.
The Loretta Young Show. No. In fact, he married her sister. He won an Emmy for How the West Was Won in 1977. And he has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
He was also in Star Trek, the original series. He played Khan and continued to play him in Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan.
No one really knows him for that minor role, do they?
No.
Okay.
How did he die?
It was 88. So yeah, okay, fair enough.
Decent career.
Big Star Trek face, her name.
Yeah.
Okay. I was actually thinking, what about when we finish Columbo? Okay? We can reverse the roles here, right? And we can do the original 80-odd episodes of Star Trek, and you can talk me through Star Trek.
There's many podcasts about them that we could try.
Yeah, but there's not many, I don't think, where I'm going, huh? A what? A Jedi? Who are these Ewoks and
I'm not sure that's going to appeal to the core demographic. We'll try. If there's a big enough wave of support for that, we'll look at it.
To be honest, we probably won't. Because 80 episodes or so, that's the same as this. Dedicating another sort of year.
There's only 3 series of original Star Trek.
But I've checked, there are 80 episodes. Although the episodes are shorter. It's sort of 50 minutes per episode.
43 was traditional for Next Generation. I don't know if
we're not doing Next Generation. I don't know what that is. Is that
the
one with
7
Patrick
seasons
Stewart?
of 24 episodes.
Yeah. I would only be interested in doing the Shatner and Leonard Nimoy ones.
They were also in the animated series.
Yeah, I'm not doing that either.
Okay, moving on.
Pedro Armendariz Jr. I butchered that name, no doubt, but he played Comandante Sanchez.
I liked him.
Yeah, he was very good. Died in 2011, aged 71. Known for The Power of Destiny, License to Kill, and Sweating Bullets.
Wait, in his private life?
Obviously.
All those things.
Interesting bit of trivia on him. He and his father both appeared in Bond movies. As I said, License to Kill for himself and From Russia with Love for his father. And they also both played the Pancho Villa, famous Mexican. Now, here's Hector Rangel was played by a chap called A. Martinez. Just the initial A. Martinez.
Does it have a surname? First name?
Well, it does.
We don't know it.
I do know it.
What is it?
It's obvious why he calls himself A. Martinez. Adolf
Martinez.
Yeah. So,
or in America, Adolf,
yeah. But I think there was a famous Mexican leader, perhaps during the Mexican Revolution, called Adolfo or Adolfo. So I think it may be from. I'm assuming it's not based on the
German Nazi leader or Austrian Nazi leader. Yeah.
So that's maybe why, but still, I think it's understandable why you might not want to call yourself Adolf. I think again, actors always change their names. So why would you not just change your name to?
So that was his equity name. We were saying here.
I don't know.
Anyway, what has he been in?
We should just let people know just now. In the last 5 minutes, we looked out the window and they're doing some sort of construction work right outside the studio here.
We're hoping what they're building is some soundproof cage around the building.
Yeah, I don't think it is. So apologies. This is probably going to be a noisy couple of minutes.
Anyway,
noisy.
Let's crack on then.
But anyway, Adolf was born in 1948. He had 7 daytime Emmy nominations, including 1 win. He has been in Longmire, The Bold and the Beautiful, One Life to Live, 95 episodes of General Hospital, over 1,300 episodes of Santa Barbara, and 39 episodes of LA Law.
1,300 episodes? Yeah. We're not doing that one.
No, we're not doing that one. He was also in Mission Impossible, Quincy, Ironside, Barretta, and McCloud. Don't start that now. I've never done that. You've never done the performed the Mission Impossible tune before.
just-
Why starting?
I
Every week I
literally-
mention Mission Impossible.
Literally yesterday I saw a trailer for the new movies.
Is there a new one coming out?
Yeah, with Simon Pegg and Tom Cruise.
Right. I think I've seen one or two of those. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think I saw the first one with the face masks
Yeah.
that came off and he was somebody else. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, I'm fed up of trying to
Yeah, I
keep
can't-
track of that.
Yeah. Trivia. Do we have any trivia? No, not really. Mention the fact that the clip was off
Santa.
Santa. Yeah.
We still don't know if it was in Mexico. So again, an appeal
Uh-huh.
to our listeners. If you know, was this episode filmed in Mexico or where was it filmed? Let us know.
The other thing was that when they showed his ID, I think we can see his badge is number 416, I think. So we know his badge number as well.
Yeah, it was a much longer, clearer look. And you wonder if that was deliberate.
I'm not sure, but I think back in the day with old rubbishy TVs, it would not have been very high definition or clear.
Yeah, it
Easy to
seems like an
see.
odd thing if they've deliberately kept it kind of obscure to then suddenly put it up on the screen.
But it wouldn't have been. So this wasn't a movie. So everyone's watching this in the 70s on a TV.
Yeah, so it's
you can't
you
pause
would
it.
maybe miss it. Yeah,
Can't pause it. And even when you could pause it on videotape initially,
It'd be-
really
yeah.
fuzzy. And they obviously weren't aware of high definition and DVDs and things
Things
like
to
that in
follow.
the future. So I don't think they thought that would have been revealed.
okay.
So let's head on to the episode review.
Okay, wrap things up a wee bit.
We shall. Motive.
Well, this was unclear to the viewer throughout the episode.
Mm.
It wasn't made apparent. In fact, it wasn't even apparent when Columbo said he had it. It still wasn't made clear to us what it was. So it was a wee bit of a tricky one.
Sure. Although it is indicated in the title of the episode.
Sure. I guess you could look at it that way.
It's to protect his honour.
That's it.
To save face. He's embarrassed and he feels guilt.
Well, his reputation, you may even, I mean, it's not touched on in the episode, but he may still trade off his reputation. He might have appearances. He was giving a speech in America.
Definitely.
So it might be that his reputation is lucrative as well as being a matter of pride.
Mm-hmm. No, I think we didn't mention that, but I do think that's a point well worth discussing or bringing up. I think that, he does have business engagements. The farm itself obviously makes money through whatever means.
Yeah.
He's the head, he's the name, he's the
And the
brand,
face, yeah.
the face of it. If that goes, I think, his business probably is in a fair amount of trouble as well.
So from his perspective, he's essentially a desperate man when he is at risk of exposure.
Yes.
And he can't have that liability and he does not behave rationally.
No. Okay, clues. I'll do the usual, go through them, tell me if I miss any.
Okay?
The fact that the staff were given the night off, the prize bull being destroyed without permission, the time that the car was waxed, the pick and the lance being discovered or found in the bull ring, Miguel being sent on an errand, a fool's errand perhaps, Montoya explaining his injury, the needle mark that was found on Hector, and the weather at the time of the accident, the wind and the dryness.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would expand a wee bit on your lance/pick one.
Okay.
The fact that he discovered it was a lance and not a pick was a good clue for him as well.
Yeah.
Also, the wet muleta that the children were playing with at the Sanchez family home.
Sure. The gotcha we've mentioned already.
Yeah, it's another one of these Columbo setups that I always kind of moan about when we see them because it seems a bit...
It's only a gotcha if, as in this case, it causes the killer to immediately admit guilt.
Yeah.
There is no gotcha in the sense of proof that would, or evidence that would hold up in court.
Yeah.
So I think it's a poor gotcha legally,
Yeah.
but it's a nice.
Yeah, it's a nice finish to the episode, and you might feel that Montoya's position is he doesn't want to have killed his friend. He's not trying to get away with it. It's a case of preserving his honour. And when that's gone, he no longer has an interest in maintaining his protestations of innocence because the purpose for killing his friend is gone, and as an honourable man, he would take responsibility.
Yeah, I think you'd have to be sort of very sympathetic with regards to that. I think he's probably a bit colder
Maybe.
than that, but yeah, it's a possibility. Overall, I think we're, probably agree it's certainly not a top tier episode. It's,
No, I think that Montalban has been the best of the villains in this series so far.
Okay.
Ahead of Janet Leigh and Case of Unity, we had Elizondo,
Yes.
and then we had Patrick McGowan last week. So I think he is ahead of those three for me
Okay.
in these performances.
So you mean just the acting performance?
Yeah, I liked him better as a character and as a performance.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I would have to still put McGowan above him, but again, that's just because I'm a
Fanboy.
big fanboy of McLaren. McGowan's one of the big boys, but I can certainly understand where you're coming from, why you say that.
It was enjoyable to watch. I mean, it did feel a bit longer than the 70 minutes, but I thought it went. It was nice enough time to spend.
I think, yeah, I agree. It's an episode which is not dreadful. It's enjoyable to watch, but I don't think you return to it. It's one of the ones that you catch when it's on TV, as opposed to one that you would seek out on DVD and give repeat viewings to.
Maybe.
Okay.
So we're going next week.
Next week, we will be watching Now You See Him and the Return of a Loved Face.
Okay, looking forward to that.
Yep.
Can we just remind folk before we go, iTunes reviews, always very important. We had a couple recently, we're quite pleased. If you keep them going, it helps other people see the show, which keeps the show going, which keeps everybody happy. So please get on there. Even if you don't have time to write a review, you can click a star rating, give us 5 stars if you like the show. And yeah, that'll keep us prominent on iTunes.
It certainly will. Okay, that's us, and we shall see you all next week.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to the Columbo podcast from Heard Yet Media.